I don't care how many times you messed up, what mistakes you made, what went wrong in your past. If you're dwelling on it, you're never going to elevate above that low vibrational state. And you're probably somebody that struggles with addiction. You're probably somebody that feels stuck in life. You're probably somebody that when you look in the mirror, that's not the person you want to see. It's because you're stuck in this low vibrational state. Welcome back to another episode of the Unstoppable Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Michael Crane. Hey, you guys, my podcast is available on Apple, on Spotify. We have a YouTube channel. All the titles are Unstoppable Mindset. So go ahead and subscribe, share these messages. I got to grow this message in this channel, and I need your help, right? I can't do it alone, so I'm asking for your support. If there's somebody that wants to level up and grow in their life, somebody that's going through a tough time, I want to touch on all those points, right? I want to talk about addiction because I've been there. I'll talk about my time in prison because I've been there. I'll talk about becoming a coach, an entrepreneur, becoming a family man, all the stuff that I've done. I'm going to share with you guys what I learned through those experiences. I'm not perfect. I'm not better than you. I've just gone all in on my life, and I've learned a lot of shit in the process, and I want to share with as many people as possible because I know what it's like to be that guy who was just stuck and hopeless. I know what it's like to have so much negative self-talk. I know what it's like to do drugs and alcohol every day just to numb out the feeling I had inside of me. It was miserable. You know, it was a miserable life when I was younger, from 14 to 24. And then in prison is when I found freedom. And I want to share with you guys how I found freedom in prison. How did I find freedom in a prison cell? Like, it still blows my mind to talk about it to this day. I feel so blessed to be here. I have a second chance at life, a new lease on life, and I'm not going to waste it. And, you know, the first thing I want to talk about, you guys, is that you have the answers to your problems right now. This is the thing that really blew my mind, is when I was put in a position where I had time to think and reflect, and I got clarity and I got sober, I started realizing that I had all the answers to my problems. All the things that I struggled with, all the dilemmas, all the indecisiveness, all the, you know, that internal turmoil, the emotional distress, whatever it is in your life right now, whether you're struggling with sobriety, whether you're struggling with your health and fitness, whether you're struggling in your relationships, to make money, to be a good person, I don't know, whatever it is, parenting, you have the answers. You have the answers. You know how I know that? Because in your conscience, that thing that talks to you, in your brain, in your mind, you feel like it's you, but it's not you. It's an extension of you. It's a connection to God, to source. That's the path that you need to walk in life. But too many of us, right, we don't follow that path. We make excuses. We side with ourselves. We side with comfort, pleasure, the excuses, whatever it is. We side with that lesser, smaller, limited version of ourselves over and over and over to the point where you identify with that person, and that's the only voice that you hear. You know, for the longest time, I was disconnected from God's guidance in my life. As a kid, we all have it. As a kid, you don't even question it. That's the voice that you're always listening to. You're compelled to do something. You act upon it. You have passions. You have dreams. You talk about them. You're not scared. You're not insecure. You don't hold back. You just are living purely in alignment with that voice that's coming from above. It's within you right now, whether you can hear it or not. For me, I had that voice strongly guiding me in my life at a young age, but then I lost it. I lost it when I went through traumatic experiences at home. I lost it when I started to numb myself with drugs and alcohol. I lost it when I was just existing in this life that I hated, just going through the motions, miserable, stuck. And out of all places, I had to go to prison to tap back in to this voice, my conscience, the truth, God. And I remember when it started to happen to me, I was like, what is going on here, man? I feel something different inside. I feel alive. I feel connected. And I remember just realizing that I had been the one who made all the bad decisions that led to a life that I wasn't proud of. I had to take accountability. And I remember just thinking, what life could have been if I had just listened to that intuition and been the person I knew in my heart I wanted to be. Imagine the life I could have created if I just went all in and didn't hold back. And it was because I was sitting in that cell and I finally understood what was at stake, and I was finally feeling the effects of my decisions. You know, it changed me internally. It changed me for the rest of my life. And so the first thing I want to share with you guys is, number one, you have the answers right now to anything that's challenging you or that you're struggling with. But can you hear that voice? Are you connected to that truth? Can you receive these messages? You see, this is the reason most people can't. It's because you are doing things every day that are disconnecting you from that message, whether it's drugs and alcohol, whether it's just being on your phone too much, whether it's operating out of anger and spite and resentment. You know, you're doing things every day that disconnect you from that message. And I want to break it down real quick. This is hard for a lot of people to understand, but if you go to Google right now and you Google frequency chart, what you'll see is this chart that shows these different frequencies that we as human beings emit based on our emotional state. Okay, all of you right now are vibrating at a certain frequency. Science can prove this. Now, this frequency chart is literally everything. It's how you feel. It's the world that you see. It's everything. It's the messages that you receive from God or that you don't receive. So let me paint a picture for you. If you go and look at this frequency chart, what you'll see is at the very bottom of the chart is an emotional state of shame and guilt. When you're in a state of shame and guilt, you are so disconnected from God's truth and message to you, you can't hear it, you can't feel it. When people are in a state of shame and guilt, all you want to do is numb that feeling out. And that's why people become addicted to substances, whether they're food, drugs, alcohol, porn, TV, whatever it is. It's this cyclical pattern where you start to feel something, some emotion that you don't want to feel, and you numb it out and you check out. And that's what I did for 10 years. You see, I didn't want to admit that my parents had left us. I didn't want to remember the times I saw my mother overdose on the floor. I didn't want to remember how many times my father promised me he'd get sober and then go back to jail, show up drunk at one of our football or basketball games, you know, embarrass us and just create all of this emotional distress in our lives. So I numbed it out. I numbed it out. I didn't want people to know that my parents left us, that I came from a broken home, all the stuff that I saw. So I was always in this low vibrational state of shame and guilt. And there's something unconscious that happens when we put ourselves in that place. We crave something. You crave something. And this might be happening in your life right now. Let's take example, the person that wants to lose weight and you start telling people you want to lose weight and you're going to the gym and then suddenly one day you hit snooze or you eat a bunch of freaking chocolate chip cookies or you do something that sabotages that potential and those results. Then you feel bad about it. So you're now dropping yourself into that shame, that guilt, that regret. And then what happens next is you crave to check it out with another substance. People do this habitually their entire lives, and they can't even consciously understand what's happening. You're always craving something, you're consuming it, you're okay for a little bit, but then those emotions start to surface again, and then you seek to get something else to numb that feeling out. If you think about it, most people are always doing that, whether it's your phone, whether it's drugs and alcohol, whether it's food. There's always this craving that surfaces, and you give into that temptation, and then you feel bad about it, or you feel okay for a little bit because you're numb, and then when those feelings emerge again, you go back to that same thing. Like over and over and over. And so if you understand that frequency chart and the fact that you're always putting off this energy, you'll start to understand how this takes place. This is why I teach people in order to take control of your lives and start to make progress and build momentum, you got to start doing things every day that make you feel proud of who you are. Literally, this is how self-development, personal development, self-mastery begins. This is how success begins. This is what I started doing in my jail cell unconsciously, right? Like I was in that low state of shame and guilt and embarrassment and just, you know, I was so close to just death at that point. And I started, you know, fighting back. I started doing things every day that would make me feel proud of who I was because I didn't want to sit in that cell and suffer. I didn't want to do anything to contribute to that feeling any longer. I'd done that for too long. So I got sober, and every day I started working out. I started reading. I started writing. I just started doing anything within my control that helped me to feel proud of myself at the end of the day. Despite being in a 6x8 cell, despite facing life in prison, I started to feel different. After a couple days, a couple weeks, I'm getting my conditioning back. I'm doing more push-ups. I'm learning words in my dictionary. I'm reading books. I'm like, man, I'm like actually changing for the better. And I remember the moment when my frequency elevated above that shame and guilt, right? I started to feel something different inside of me. I started to have more clarity, better thoughts. I started to have these visions of the future and what could be if I stayed on this path. And I'm telling you, this isn't within reach of all of you guys, but you have to understand the human frequency in this chart. This isn't like voodoo and fucking witchcraft. It's science. It's personal development. We're now privy to all this information. If you can understand it, you can completely change and take control of your life. I did in a jail cell. And so go study the frequency chart. Right above the shame and guilt, one of the next emotions is anger, and there's acceptance right there. So instead of feeling bad about your situation, you got to get pissed off and do something about it, right? That already starts to elevate you. Then acceptance of the past, acceptance of things you can no longer change. I don't care how many times you messed up, what mistakes you made, what went wrong in your past. If you're dwelling on it, you're never going to elevate above that low vibrational state. And you're probably somebody that struggles with addiction. You're probably somebody that feels stuck in life. You're probably somebody that when you look in the mirror, that's not the person you want to see. It's because you're stuck in this low vibrational state. You never get clarity. You never get these visions. You never have this inspiration. You don't feel connected to God and source. You don't get these messages that I'm going to share with you that I've gotten that have guided my life ever since I made these changes. Okay? So you have to go through that acceptance to elevate above that. Now, at the highest level of the frequency chart are emotions like gratitude, love, enlightenment. This is the epitome of personal development and success when you're just having so much clarity. You feel like everything you're doing is leading you on this purpose-driven path. This is when God starts to speak to you. And how else could you describe it? But when you have this conscience that's always calling you to face your fears, do these amazing things, become a better person, not stay stuck or comfortable, but stretch yourself, push yourself, give back. Like your conscience is always calling you to do the right thing, the best thing. It's never going to lead you down a path you shouldn't go in life. It's never going to steer you wrong. How amazing is that, knowing that right now, if you just listen to your conscience, it's always going to lead to a better, more fulfilling life for you. But a lot of people don't listen to it. Or you're stuck in those low vibrational states where you can't even hear this message. So this is what happened to me. I started working out every day in my cell. I forgave my parents. I started doing things every day that were going to make me feel proud of who I was. I let go of my past. Suddenly my frequency elevated to the point where I was feeling gratitude, love, and joy in a prison cell facing life in prison. And I remember going to sleep at night with just these racing thoughts and ideas of what life could be like. I started to feel this energy just vibrating inside of me, and I was shocked that I could feel that way in jail. I was shocked that I could go to bed feeling proud and full of love. I hadn't had that in years, since I was a little kid. And here I am with nothing, stripped of everything that we think we need in life, feeling more alive and in love and in touch with myself and my purpose than ever before. You see, that moment, I didn't know what my purpose was, but God started to speak to me. And I started to listen, and I was acting accordingly. Whatever my conscience was calling me to do, whether it was read a book, look at words in the dictionary, do more burpees, give away my tray of food to someone down the tier who needed it, I would do it. I would do it, and I stopped questioning that voice inside of me. Too many of you question it. That's God speaking to you to become the best person, the most ideal person that you're supposed to be in this lifetime. It's as simple as that. And from that point forward, throughout my entire time of incarceration for 5.5 years, coming home, becoming an entrepreneur, building a family with my beautiful wife, Jessica, all the things you see me do, it's because I listened to my conscience. I trusted and believed in God's guidance in my life. I surrendered and dedicate my life to be a man of service, a man of purpose. And I pray to God every day just to guide me and use me as a conduit of His energy, thy energy, right? To become the person that I'm destined to be. That's my prayer every day. I get up every day, I close my eyes, I meditate, and I surrender, and I ask God to protect me and my family, to keep us strong and healthy. And I say, use me as you wish. Guide me on this path. I want to be a conduit, a vessel of thy message. Show me the way. And this is how I become successful in life. I don't care about the stuff. I care about the connection, the inner peace, the impact, the example that I could set for my children, for you, for everybody that I come across. But it's not me. I'm just willing to do the work. I have courage and faith on this path that I'm on, but God's working magic in my life. And the same thing can happen for you. You guys, I battled addiction for 10 years. I was hopeless. No one taught me how to be successful. In fact, I went to prison. I had to figure myself out in prison before I could come out here and have a second chance to demonstrate what I learned. But I learned a lot, and I want to share it with you guys. And my message today is that if you study yourself and you understand human and personal development, and you're willing to accept things that happened to you in the past, and you're willing to go down this new path in life and seek that spiritual connection and listen to that voice inside of you, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be perfect, but things will progressively get better for you. You will meet people, you will experience things, and you will become someone that you never fathomed in your lifetime. It's because your conscience is the path that you are supposed to travel in this lifetime. Your conscience will lead to the most ideal, elevated, best version that you could ever become. And you know what? You're not going to do it alone, because every step of the way, there's a purpose for you. But you got to trust and believe in that purpose to achieve the ultimate life like I have.